Opendoor is now officially selling homes at a loss. Shares of the company spiked last year when rival Zillow exited the iBuying market for houses. But now, Opendoor seems to be suffering the same fate as Zillow and Redfin. Opendoor's Q3 earnings were a disaster and the company experienced its biggest loss ever. The company announced the layoff of around 18% of its employees earlier this month. Opendoor CEO Eric Wu guided to an already deteriorating balance sheet in Q4 and beyond. Wu sees shock and confusion spreading across a once buoyant real estate market. Opendoor shares have lost 75% of their value in 2022. That compares to losses of just over 70% for Zillow and Redfin shares. Corporate home flipping/online market making has turned out to be a bust for Wall Street, at least this time around. This video takes a closer look at Opendoor and how it had disastrous results in the United States. What does this mean for the future of this type of business model? What does it mean for the future of Opendoor, Zillow and Redfin? What does it mean for the US real estate market? What does this mean for new home development? What does this mean for the future of the economy? And, what does it mean for the future of the United States? But, before we get into that, please press the like button and leave us a comment below. Please hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so that you are notified of upcoming videos. Opendoor's Q3 earnings call confirmed the worst of the bearish real estate thesis. If there was any good news in their Q3 earnings report, it was that revenue that beat consensus estimates. Top-line revenue beat expectations with a nearly 50% growth over its year-ago quarter. The problem was that this revenue gain came at an extremely high cost. Opendoor's adjusted net loss for Q3 was 18 times what it was in Q3 of last year. CEO Eric Wu basically walked back his expansion plans that he discussed in the Q2 earnings call. The company announced the layoff of about 18% of its employee base. That amounts to 550 full-time employees. And Wu left the open door for more layoffs in the future. Get it, Opendoor? I think that it is fair to say that the home flipping party in the US has come to a screeching halt. The party was triggered by more than a decade of record low interest rates. Now panic is spreading across the real estate industry. And there is a sharp cutback on activity. Redfin's home flipping program, called Redfin Now, is being entirely shut down. All of this comes almost a year after Zillow shut down its iBuyer business. Zillow took a $300 million loss to shut down its iBuyer business. OfferPad, another house flipper, is also cutting around 7% of its employees. Ironically, that leaves Opendoor in something of a unique position. Its two largest competitors from last year are no longer vying for a share of the market. But, it comes at a time when all of its financial metrics go negative. In Phoenix, a mecca of house flipping, Opendoor lost money on 76% of transactions in August. That is an increase from 21% in Q3 of last year. And it comes as mortgage rates went over 7% for the first time since 2002. Opendoor's home flipping losses in Atlanta in Q3 were 3.7 times what they were in Q3 of last year. And, the amount of time that Opendoor has to hold its houses is increasing. Opendoor's holding period for houses sold in Q3 was 122 days. That compares to 113 days for Q3 of last year. Also, Opendoor is handing out credits of between $10,000 to $15,000 to buyers to take properties off its hands. Overall revenue for Q3 was $3.4 billion. That is an increase of 49.8% from Q3 of last year and beat Wall Street consensus expectations by $680 million. In Q3, it sold a total of 8,520 homes. However, the gross margin on these sales was negative 12.6%. That compares to a positive gross margin of 8.9% in Q3 of last year. So gross profit was a negative $425 million in Q3. One would think that this intense inversion is only set to get worse. The Federal Reserve is making housing financing costs higher to further disrupt housing. If you recall, competitor Zillow shut down its house flipping business after a $300 million net loss. Opendoor has experienced a much bigger loss than this on just a gross profit basis. The company also recorded a net loss of $928 million. That is up from a net loss of $57 million in Q3 of last year. Long-term debt now stands at $4.65 billion as of the end of Q3. That is the highest ever level of long-term debt for the company and up from $2.32 billion in Q3 of last year. Not surprisingly, Opendoor's interest expense grew to $115 million for Q3 alone. And that was a 2.67 times increase from interest expense of $43 million in Q3 of last year. Of course, rising interest rates are a key factor in the increase. If you can believe it, Opendoor actually bought 8,380 homes during Q3. But that number is down 45% from Q3 of last year. It is also down from the 14,135 homes that it bought in Q2 of this year. If you recall from Opendoor's Q2 earnings call, management oddly stated they were ramping activity. Opendoor ended Q3 with 2,259 homes under contract for purchase. And that is down 64% compared to Q3 of last year. As things stand right now, Opendoor has 16,873 homes on its books. That group of homes is being valued at a total value of $6.1 billion on Opendoor's balance sheet. But the value of the portfolio written down by $573 million during Q3. So the potential extent of future discombobulation is something that investors need to consider. Opendoor's financing costs are increasing dramatically. The company's debt and interest expenses are growing every quarter. Both of these figures are trending opposite of inventory. But as I see it, inventory will probably continue to be written down every quarter as interest rates continue to rise. The federal funds rate now stands at 3.75% to 4%. An increase of at least another 50 basis points is expected at the December Federal Open Market Committee meeting. All of this comes as the median sales price of existing homes is decreasing. It is now down 7% from its peak of $413,800 to $384,800. The United States is teetering on the brink of recession. So the future does not look bright for Opendoor. To me, it seems that Opendoor will be stuck with a lot of houses. And their carrying value will have to be written down every quarter as its debt burden rises. It appears that equity in the company's portfolio will continue to shrink and could even go negative. My friends, this is a slow-motion train wreck. On the other hand, Opendoor could still turn things around. But its defensive moves would have to pay off. And the housing slowdown would have to be somewhat mild. The U.S. real estate market is in decline and so are the fortunes of Opendoor. Up until Q1 of this year, Opendoor had actually made a profit on all of the houses that it's bought and later sold. Average profit on Opendoor house flipping deals peaked at 12% earlier in 2022. Opendoor also gave money directly to home buyers to buy down their mortgage rates. Opendoor is also cutting asking prices for houses. And it is continuing to cut prices every week for houses that linger on the market. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell has repeatedly said that interest rate increases are necessary in order to reduce inflation. This comes amid layoff announcements from many companies. And the United States economy teeters on the brink of recession. Homebuilder sentiment in September fell another 3 points to 46. This according to the National Association of Home Builders, Wells Fargo Housing Market Index. Nearly 25% of new home prices are discounted. Rising interest rates have caused homebuilder confidence to tank. Persistent inflation is causing higher costs for labor and materials. Higher costs for land are driving up development costs. So, new home builders are caught in a market squeeze. Redfin CEO Glenn Kelman is predicting the biggest U.S. housing crash since the Great Recession. Sensing that home prices are in free fall, home buyers are now pulling back from the market. But, is this just a market correction? Or, is this a housing crash? New home builder confidence fell to its lowest level in 8 years. The most pronounced slowdown in home buying activity is in the markets that were overheated during the pandemic. The ongoing housing recession shows no signs of abating, said Robert Dietz, chief economist for the National Association of Home Builders. In this soft market, more than half of the builders in our survey reported using incentives to bolster sales, including mortgage rate buydowns, free amenities and price reductions, Dietz added. For the past 5 years, home buyers were typically having to pay over listing price and compete in a bidding war. But now, the average home in the United States is selling for less than its list price. Housing prices are falling in many U.S. cities. But how far will they go? Experts predict that house prices could fall by up to 25% over the next few months. Sellers are reluctant to sell their houses in a falling market according to Redfin CEO Kelman. Home builders are having to offer aggressive discounts. And they are canceling new building projects. Housing developers are seeing the pace of new home site visitors is slowing down. Customers are canceling contracts. This could lead to the perfect storm that culminates in a foreclosure crisis. A housing could have devastating ramifications for tens of thousands of Americans. On the positive side, this could be an opportunity for first-time home buyers. And broad pessimism could lead to a quick market recovery, economists say. Tech layoffs are a primary reason why home prices in technology hubs fell 0.77% from June to July of this year. Over 32,000 people have been laid off from U.S. tech so far this year. Tech companies that boomed during the pandemic are seeing dramatically falling revenue. This is especially true of tech companies in e-commerce, real estate, and those closely related to the stock market. But what do you think? Please press the like button and leave us a comment below. Please hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so that you are notified of upcoming videos. Please share this video on social media. Thank you for watching.